Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Purge, killing the misconception that content strategists are copy editors, one team at a time. In this session, you'll learn how to shift the perception of content strategists from editors to designers. You'll learn what to include in an effective roadshow deck and how to build a strong case study that advocates for your craft. You'll also learn how to build a robust content strategy team, even when your organization doesn't fully understand what content strategy is or does. Now, I promise this talk won't be as disturbing as the Purge movies, unless you're a content strategist who's been mistaken for a copy editor before, in which case it will bring up some strong emotions. Fair warning. Before we get into it, though, I want to briefly introduce myself. My name is Heather Baranko, and I'm an Associate Content Strategy Director at Wayfair, focused on the supplier experience. I've been at Wayfair for 3 years now and have worked my way up the ranks, starting off as a content strategy manager back in 2019. I've worked in strategy development for over 12 years now in a variety of industries, including advertising, market research, nonprofit, and now experience design. I have a bachelor's in advertising and economics, and I'm truly passionate about simplification, organization, and scalability, which is why when I'm off the clock, I'm still working on my personal to-do list and building out reusable templates for some of my side projects and hobbies. I love planning trips and am currently planning a trip to Spain and Portugal, which by the time you watch this, I'll have already gone on and enjoyed, but right now I'm really looking forward to it and love the planning process. I currently live in Massachusetts with my partner and our 12-year-old dog, Cody. And in case you're looking for a book recommendation, I'm currently reading The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I'm really digging it. And in case you've never heard of Wayfair before, I want to give you a quick explanation of what it is. So Wayfair is an e-commerce site that sells pretty much everything you might need for your home, from sofas to backsplash. However, I work on our supplier experience platform, the side of Wayfair most of you, probably none of you, actually see. Our goal is to make the supplier experience equally as rich, intuitive, and powerful as our customer experience. We want to bring more data, more transparency, and more control to our suppliers. It's a tall order, but we're doing it. All right, let's start purging, shall we? Chapter 1, Anarchy. Let's face it, the struggle is real. When someone asks me what I do for a living, I can't just give a one-word answer. Teacher, artist, chef. Nope. My title, Associate Content Strategy Director of Global Supplier Technology, is always followed by at least a 5-minute explanation and lots of confused looks, which I'd expect from my dad's great aunt's cousin or something, but not my coworkers. Not at a technology organization. Now, granted, my title is pretty loaded, but even if I just said content strategist or content designer, I'd probably still find myself in the same situation. And I'm sure you all have found yourselves in the situation at some point in your career too. That's probably why you're watching this. Despite content strategy becoming more of a household name across various industries, many still don't understand what content strategy is and what content strategists actually do. And when your organization already has product designers, it can be even harder trying to explain that your work overlaps and your roles are completely intertwined, but that you're both also absolutely necessary can be a tough sell, especially when you're the new kid on the block. It can also be beyond frustrating when someone asks you to fix the words after you just finished walking them through your detailed content model for a new product feature with a comprehensive taxonomy and scalable governance plan for content maintenance. It can feel like you're talking to a wall. You might find yourself wondering, what is it all for? What am I even doing anymore? Does anybody care? I'm here to tell you that what you do matters, and they do care even if it doesn't feel like it. Even if your coworkers don't know it yet. Because while they might not know the benefit of content strategy before getting a taste for it, as soon as they do, they'll be hooked and wonder what they ever did without us. Your job is to just get one person who isn't a content strategist on board. One person hooked, and then the rest will follow. And that's what this talk was built to help you do. So now let me tell you how I went from working on a very siloed team, simply fixing the words, to building a 10-person and growing content strategy team that's embedded within product teams and working alongside designers, product managers, and engineers to build solutions that create world-class user experiences at scale. All right, chapter 2, the first purge, my story. Now, I by no stretch of the imagination believe that my experience was the first purge of content strategy misconceptions, but we'll play along for the sake of this talk. So when I started at Wayfair 3 years ago, experience design was still fairly new to the supplier organization, and content strategy simply didn't exist. I was placed on a team that was responsible for a very small portion of the products and features on our supplier experience platform, which is called Partner Home. It's also important to note that the team I was placed on had never worked with content strategists before and just really had no idea what we did or why we were even there. So I started building a roadshow deck, explaining what content strategy is, how we fit into experience design, and sharing some examples of the work we'd done so far. They still didn't quite get it, so we ended up having weekly meetings to share what we were working on and how it was making an impact. One of the things I worked on was establishing content standards and guidelines, including our voice and tone guide. But as you all know, in order for all that to actually be effective, it would all need to be applied across Partner Home, not just on our small siloed team for a single feature. The only problem was we had no visibility, let alone control over what the rest of Partner Home was doing. Once I had my footing, though, and I understood what was really going on, a little bit more about the lay of the land, I spoke up. But nothing happened, so I spoke up some more. And I continued to speak up for several months with several different people until something changed, until the right person heard me and gave me the opportunity to start a content strategy team for our entire supplier organization that would be part of a greater supplier experience design team. That said, even after I started our content strategy team, we had only moved up from who are you, why are you here, to okay, fix the words. Everyone thought we simply edited the copy. There were 2 of us, and we worked out of a backlog that served over 12 or so teams. And tickets were really only submitted to our backlog right before a product or feature was about to go live. So turnaround times had to be fast. Everyone was just looking for a quick review. They only wanted to check the box. So no one knew what to do when we started making design suggestions and asking second order questions. We were met with something that felt like, who do these people think they are? They didn't know context is just as important as the content itself. They didn't think about the fact that content is the reason for most product design. People often go to websites and use applications to get accurate and useful information. They also didn't realize that words aren't helpful if form and function don't consider them. You can't just throw instructional text on a page and expect a design problem to go away. That's not how it works. All that said, our setup was imperfect, but at least we had one. And I was grateful, but I also wasn't finished. My goal was to shift the mindset of our organization and fix the setup. To make most everyone understand that content strategy is design work, that great content is simply a part of great design. In a matter of 2 years, we went from 2 content strategists working out of backlog and spreading themselves across 12 or so product teams to 7 content strategists, 2 instructional designers, and 1 technical writer, each aligned to a key business area across our organization. So what can you do to shift the perception of content strategists from editors to designers? Here are the 10 things I did and continue to do to build the team I want and our organization needs. Chapter 3, the forever purge. Number 1, meet with stakeholders and partners all across your organization. Set up one-on-ones, not just with other experienced designers, but product managers and engineers too. Learn what they do and the problems they're trying to solve. Understand the state of things. You can ask questions like, who do you typically collaborate with to understand their process? What are you currently working on? Or what are the biggest challenges your team is facing? These will all help paint a picture of what their priorities are. Number 2, conduct an audit. Figure out just how deep the content challenges go and use that to show how content strategy can have an impact. In your audit, you can include things like the type of content, who the content author is, when it was created, among a lot of other things. Number 3, build a roadshow deck. Now that you have a better understanding of the state of things, what challenges teams are facing, and what your partners hope to achieve, you can better cater your roadshow deck to describe how content strategy can address those challenges or simply improve user experiences to achieve their goals. Then set up more meetings to walk team members through that roadshow deck and answer questions. Because let's face it, no one's going to read it, I mean really read it, unless you make them. In your roadshow deck, include things like what content strategy is, who you work with, how you work, and what the business and your partners get when content strategy is aligned. Offer them points of contact and ways to engage with you too. Number 4, you heard me talk about this before, but speak up. Advocate for your craft a lot. And then when you think people are sick of hearing you talk about how important content strategy is, do it some more. Speak up in small meetings, speak up in large meetings, start a newsletter. Make sure everyone you come in contact with knows about content strategy and what problems can be solved by building a content strategy team in your organization. Continue to have conversations with leadership. You'll probably feel like a broken record, but trust me, it works. Number 5, find an ally outside of your craft to help you gain traction and spread the word. Once you've found someone who gets it, ask them to help you out. Explain the struggle and encourage them to advocate for content strategy too. You can even arm them with some helpful sound bites to help sell the idea. Something like, content strategy is design work, or content is how we communicate with our users, and content humanizes digital experiences. Let them know how much their advocacy and socialization of your craft will help the business. Number 6, join all the meetings. You might not really be getting invited to many meetings at first. After all, everyone thinks you can just fix the words at the end of the design process. So it is on you to get yourself invited to meetings. Insert yourself in as many meetings as possible to plug content strategy. If you're in an office, see when people you work with are all joining a meeting together and ask about it. See if you can join too. If you're remote, check calendars or ask your XD partners, someone you trust. Tell them to invite you to meetings where they're discussing priorities and objectives for projects you're working on, or even projects you're not working on, so you understand what the needs of your organization are. And keep asking until you find yourself automatically getting invited to these meetings. Sure, it takes more time and energy from your end to start, but you and the team you'll soon be building will reap the rewards in the long run. You're building a foundation. Number 7, prove your craft's value through a case study. Case studies are an excellent tool to show the impact you're having on the business. It's also really helpful for your own personal career growth. When you start interviewing and looking at other opportunities, having a case study is a huge help. When building your case study, always start with your goal. Describe what you wanted to accomplish with this work, then describe the problem or situation you were in. What was the catalyst for this work? Then move on to the solution, emphasizing your role and really highlight all the work you did that wasn't just writing, like information architecture, journey mapping, and content modeling. Then give the results. Data is important. Start thinking about this from the moment you get pulled into a project. Even if it's at the end, how might you still show the impact your work had? Then wrap it up with some lessons learned for your conclusion. Number 8, document everything. If no one knows what you do, chances are there are no processes established for content strategy at your company, or ways to work together, or channels for engagement. Build them all and document them all. And make sure you're documenting the reason for and the work behind your content decisions. If someone asks you a year from now why you're using sentence case instead of title case, for example, make sure you have noted what different routes you explored, what research you performed, who you talked to and got buy-in from. You don't want to have to dig through old conversations, if they even still exist, to try and track down your reasoning. Have it readily available. Number 9, start talking about the benefits of a content management system and start researching them. Control over your content is so important when establishing yourself as an essential part of the design process. It also gets you more face time with engineers, a key partner in product design and development. So start planting that seed early on and start shopping around for an option that works best for you and your organization. Partner up with an engineer too to help determine which content management system is a right fit. And finally, once you're ready, build a plan and ask for more headcount. All right, people are starting to understand what content strategy is, and you're really in it now. Rich content opportunities are popping up all over the place. There's more content work than you can handle alone, or you and your one other content strategist can handle alone. Don't shy away from asking for more headcount. You've proved your value. Now it's time to prove the value of growing your team. Build an argument for headcount anchored in your organization's priorities and objectives. Tie that extra headcount request back to a specific team and work needs. Use data to back up your argument too. Something like teams with content strategy alignment saw an 80% increased click-through rate. Pull from those case studies that you built. Reference what content strategy looks like at other industry-leading companies. What do their engineering to content ratios look like? How about product design to content? And note how your organization stacks up. Define what won't get done if the identified team doesn't get content strategy alignment. You can include things like disorganized information architecture, cluttered and confusing table data and interactions, use of jargon, abbreviations, and acronyms, which beyond a really poor and confusing experience for users in your source language, it also means you're not setting yourselves up for localization. And be adamant that content strategists need to be embedded in a product team. Trust me when I say working primarily out of a backlog just doesn't work. It's pure the first purge level chaos. It keeps content strategists from feeling connected to their team. They don't feel like they're making a meaningful impact on design work because they're forced to only scratch the surface of many rather than dive deep into a few. It really only gives them enough time to copy edit, and that's just not fulfilling for a true content strategist. Plus, the time commitment of engaging with multiple teams and the cognitive load that comes along with context switching is just too much. Healthy product teams require consistency, knowledge building, and relationship building. That can't happen when content strategists aren't embedded. All right, so here's a quick recap of what we just went over. You're going to meet with people across your organization. You're going to conduct an audit, build a roadshow deck, speak up in all forums, find an ally, join all the meetings, build a case study, document everything, research content management systems, and build a plan for more headcount. That should keep you busy for a while, but easy, right? Now, obviously, none of this will happen overnight, so be patient, but steadfast. Take what you can get as you get it and build on it. It might be exhausting at times, but you're doing it all in the name of your craft, something bigger than yourself, and that's pretty cool. The foundation you lay today will help your fellow content strategists within the team you build tomorrow. Let's forever purge the phrase, "Can you fix these words?" from our coworkers' vocabulary. Now, if you have questions about anything I talked about today or want to chat about anything content strategy, please feel free to shoot me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the rest of LavaCon 2022.